Welcome to the Deep Dive. You're here for a focused exploration, the learner, and today, well, we're zoning in on a real Californian icon, but one with a pretty amazing backstory, Zinfandel.
That's right.
We've got some great stuff for you, some readings about Zinfandel's journey and what makes it tick, plus insights from a sommelier. Our mission today, to give you a really sharp, insightful grasp of this grape, its surprising roots, what it's like in the vineyard and the glass, and, why it's just so important in the wine world.
Yeah,
Get ready for some aha moments, hopefully without feeling totally buried in info.
absolutely. Zinfandel's story, it really does cross continents, and there's this, well, amazing twist of fate involved.
It's captivating, isn't it? How this grape, which was a mystery for so long, is now just so Californian.
Deeply intertwined, yeah.
Okay, let's jump right into that mystery then. For ages, nobody really knew Zinfandel's family tree, did they?
No, they didn't. For the longest time, its genetic origins were, well, unknown.
Right.
But then DNA analysis came along in the 90s, and that was a total game changer.
Ugh, DNA.
Yeah, it finally gave us solid proof that Zinfandel was, basically the same as the Italian grape, Primitivo.
Primitivo. So, okay, mystery solved. Or was there more to it? Were they just twins separated at birth?
Well, here's where it gets even more interesting. The research didn't actually stop in Italy. Carol Meredith and her team at UC Davis, they do some groundbreaking work.
Right, UC Davis, they're pioneers.
They really are. They dug deeper and traced it even further back,
Yeah,
all the way to Croatia.
Croatia, really.
Yeah. They pinpointed a grape called Crljenak Kaštelanski as its direct ancestor, and found it was closely related to another ancient grape from the Balkans called Tribodrag.
Wow.
So Zinfandel didn't just get a new name when it came to the U.S. It had already taken quite a journey from the Balkans.
Croatia to Italy,
Ah.
then to America. That's quite a trip. How did it actually get over here? Any ideas?
Well, the main theory is it arrived sometime in the 19th century,
Mhm.
maybe brought over by European immigrants who might have known Primitivo or, its relatives. Or it could have been plant importers. They were always scouting for new varieties that might do well in American soil.
And it sounds like once it landed in California, it didn't just survive, it really took root.
Oh, absolutely. Zinfandel just clicked with California. It showed this amazing knack for adapting to all the different terroirs, the different climates, the different
They're
soils.
so adaptable.
It thrived pretty much everywhere, from the cooler spots near the coast to the warmer valleys further inland. That adaptability was, well, it was key to its early success.
So it wasn't just hanging on, it was actually helping build the whole California wine scene.
Exactly. Zinfandel played a huge part in growing the industry, especially back during the gold rush days.
Ah, the gold rush.
Yep. It was productive, reliable, and it made these robust red wines that people wanted. It was sort of a workhorse grape that really helped lay the groundwork.
Okay, but then things took a weird turn in the 20th century. White Zinfandel happened, right? In the 70s. That must have shaken things up.
It really did. A totally unexpected twist. White Zin, this sweeter, blush-style wine, just exploded commercially.
Huge success, yeah.
Massive. And it meant growers planted a lot more Zinfandel, which was good for business in one way, but, well, it kind of overshadowed Zin's potential for making serious, top-quality red wines for a lot of people.
Right. The perception got a bit skewed towards the sweet pink stuff.
Exactly.
But that's not the end of the story, is it? There's been a comeback for red Zinfandel.
Definitely. The last few decades have seen this real resurgence, a lot more interest in crafting and appreciating high-end red Zinfandel. The focus now is really on quality, on showing what different regions can do.
Terroir expression.
Precisely. And recognizing the amazing depth you get from those old vines.
Okay, let's dig into that terroir expression idea. How does the actual place, the climate, the soil in California really change how Zinfandel tastes?
Terroir is huge for Zin. I mean, think about California's climate. It's broadly Mediterranean, right?
Yeah.
Warm, dry summers, mild, wet winters. Generally great for Zin.
Perfect conditions, almost.
Almost. But California is huge, and you get these big regional differences. Go to cooler coastal spots like parts of Sonoma.
Yeah.
You often find Zinfandels that are maybe a bit fresher, brighter, more red fruit notes.
Okay.
Then head inland, somewhere's warmer like Paso Robles or parts of Lodi. And the wines tend to get bigger, fuller-bodied, more dark fruit flavors.
Yeah.
Blackberry, plum, that sort of thing.
And the ground itself, the dirt the vines grow in, does that matter much?
Oh, absolutely. California's got this incredible mix of soils. You've got clay, sand, volcanic soils, alluvial soils near rivers.
All sorts.
Yeah. And they all impact the vine differently. Clay holds water, might mean more vigorous vines. Sandy soils drain well, maybe smaller yields but more concentrated flavors.
It's interesting.
Volcanic soils sometimes give this kind of minerality. Alluvial soils are often a mix. It all affects how the vine grows, how the grapes ripen, and ultimately what you taste in the glass.
So you can almost taste the location. Can you give us a quick tour? Like, what's a Napa Zin typically like versus, say, Lodi?
Sure. Napa Zinfandel often has, good structure, noticeable tannins, pretty ripe fruit, and you usually taste the oak aging.
Okay, structured.
Sonoma County is diverse. Rush and River Valley Zins can be a bit more elegant, fresher red fruits again. But Dry Creek Valley, also in Sonoma, is famous for more concentrated, full-bodied Zins.
Right, Dry Creek.
Lodi is fascinating. Tons of really old vines there. Their Zins are often really fruity, quite approachable. Softer tannins, maybe. Think raspberry, cherry, sometimes a distinct black pepper note.
Old Vine Central, Lodi.
Definitely. Then Paso Robles, it's warm there. You get powerful, full-bodied Zins, lots of dark food concentration, spice, maybe chocolate, earthy notes, good structure too. And don't forget places like the Sierra Foothills or Mendocino, they have their own unique styles too.
You keep mentioning old vines. What's the magic there? Why are they so prized for Zinfandel?
Well, old vines usually means 50 years or older, sometimes much older. They're special for a few reasons. Their root systems are incredibly deep, so they're less bothered by drought or weather swings.
Makes sense, they're established.
Exactly. They also tend to produce less fruit, smaller yields. But the grapes they do produce, they're usually packed with more concentrated flavors, aromas, tannins. It's like they have a deeper wisdom of the soil, expressing that terroir more intensely.
Concentrated goodness. Now, it's not just California, right? Zin's relatives are grown elsewhere. Italy, Croatia.
Correct. In Puglia, down in southern Italy, they call it Primitivo, hot, dry climate down there. The wines are often quite robust, high alcohol, lots of intense dark fruit plum, fig and warm spices like cinnamon, clove.
So a different expression.
Definitely. And then back in Croatia, on the Dalmatian coast, where it's Crljenak Kaštelanski, it's still Mediterranean, but maybe rockier soils, limestone. The wines often have a good tannic structure, nice acidity, red and black fruits, maybe some herbal or mineral notes, sometimes a bit more restrained or elegant compared to the really bold California styles.
Fascinating comparison.
And yeah, you find little pockets elsewhere too. Australia, South America, trying their hand at it.
So the place matters immensely. What about the vine itself? What does it look like? What are its quirks in the vineyard?
Amplography-wise, that's the study of vine identification. Zinfandel, or Primitivo, or Crljenak, they share key traits. Medium to large leaves, usually 5 lobes. The grape bunches are pretty decent sized, often conical, and can be quite compact.
Compact bunches. That sounds like it could cause issues.
It can. We'll get to that.
Yeah.
The berries themselves are medium, round, dark blue-black when ripe. But the really big thing, the defining characteristic in the vineyard, is its uneven ripening.
Uneven ripening? What does that mean exactly?
It means on the same grape cluster, you can have berries that are still green and unripe, berries that are perfectly ripe, and berries that are already starting to shrivel like raisins, all at the same time.
Wow. Okay. That sounds like a nightmare for harvesting.
It's definitely a major challenge. Zin tends to bud mid-season, but ripens quite late. It needs a long, warm season to get fully ripe.
Needs that heat.
Yeah. And that long hang time, plus the compact bunches, just exaggerates this uneven ripening tendency.
So how do growers even deal with that? Do they pick multiple times?
Sometimes selective picking is necessary, yes. Or they have to make a compromise, picking everything at once, knowing some grapes will be underripe and some overripe. Vineyard management is key.
Like pruning.
Exactly. Pruning methods like cordon spur or the traditional gobelet, head draining, help control how much fruit the vine produces and try to get better sun exposure and air circulation. Managing the yield, maybe removing some clusters early on, called green harvesting, is vital for concentrating flavor in the grapes that remain.
And water, especially in warm California.
Crucial. Careful irrigation is needed to give the vines enough water to ripen the fruit, but not so much that it dilutes the flavor or encourages too much leafy growth. It's a balancing act.
Are there other big challenges, diseases or pests?
Well, beyond that tricky ripening, those compact bunches we mentioned, they make Zin quite susceptible to fungal diseases. Things like powdery mildew or botrytis bunch rot, especially if it gets damp near harvest.
Rot. Not good.
Not good at all. So good airflow through the canopy is really important, achieved by pruning and sometimes pulling leaves. And growers often need preventative sprays to keep things healthy.
Okay, so getting healthy, evenly-ish ripe grapes is tough work. Once they manage that, what happens in the winery to get all these different Zinfandel styles?
Right. The winemaking really depends on the target style. For red wines, the basics are pretty standard. Destem, crush the grapes. Then comes maceration, letting the juice soak with the skins.
That's for color and tannins.
Exactly. How long you macerate and at what temperature hugely impacts the color, the tannin level, and the aromas you extract. Then you have alcoholic fermentation, where temperature control is key again. And finally, aging.
Stainless steel or oak barrels?
A big choice.
Yeah.
Stainless steel preserves fresh fruit flavors. Oak adds complexity, texture, and those oaky flavors, vanilla, spice, toast. The type of oak American, French, the toast level, how long it stays in barrel, all massive influences.
And that's how you get that range in red Zins, from light and fruity to big and bold.
Largely, yes. Shorter maceration, maybe aging in steel or used oak barrels, gives you those lighter, brighter styles. Longer time on skins, maybe using new oak barrels, builds more structure, tannin, and those deeper, spicier notes for the bigger, age-worthy Zins.
Makes sense. What about white Zinfandel? How's that pink color achieved?
It's basically a rosé technique. The red Zinfandel grapes are crushed, but the juice only stays in contact with the skins for a very short time, just hours, sometimes less.
Just enough for a blush.
Exactly. Just enough to get that pale pink color. Then the juice is drained off and fermented like a white wine. And often, the fermentation is stopped early to leave some residual sugar, giving it that characteristic sweetness.
As opposed to a dry rosy Zin.
Right. For a dry rosé Zinfandel, you'd also have short skin contact, but you'd let the fermentation finish completely so all the sugar converts to alcohol, resulting in a dry wine.
And I think you mentioned dessert wines, too, from Zin.
Yes. Not as common, but definitely possible. Usually made from grapes left on the vine very late to get super ripe and sugary, almost raisined, or sometimes grapes are dried after picking.
Like Italian Amarone style.
Sort of, yeah. Then the fermentation might be stopped early to keep that sweetness high, or sometimes they're fortified with grape spirit. You get these really intense, concentrated sweet wines.
Oak came up again with red wines. Can you elaborate a bit on American versus French oak with Zin?
Sure. American oak, which is quite traditional for Zinfandel in California, tends to give more upfront, sweeter notes, think vanilla, coconut, dill sometimes. It can be quite assertive.
Okay.
French oak is often considered a bit more subtle. It might give more spicy notes, clove, cinnamon, maybe toast, and the tannins it imparts are often described as finer, more silky. The winemaker's choice here really shapes the final wine's personality. It's about finding balance.
Okay, we've followed the grape from the field to the cellar. Let's pour a glass. What should we expect, sensorially? What does Zinfandel typically smell and taste like?
Zinfandel has a pretty distinctive profile. Aromatically, you almost always get fruit, often a mix of red and black fruits. Ripe cherry, raspberry, blackberry, plum, could be quite brambly.
Fruity, got it.
And spice. Black pepper is a classic Zin note, especially from cooler areas. But also things like cloves, cinnamon, licorice maybe.
Yeah.
Just from a really warm region or very ripe, you might get jammier notes or even hints of raisins.
And the oak adds.
Vanilla, toast, more spice, sometimes a smoky or coconut note, depending on the oak used. And as a red Zin ages, it can develop these lovely, savory complexities, earth, leather, dried fruit characters.
Okay, that's the nose. What about tasting it? Texture, acidity, alcohol?
On the palate, most red Zins are dry, unless it's specifically a dessert style. Tannins can range quite a bit younger. Bolder Zins can have firm tannins, while lighter styles or aged ones will be softer.
And acidity.
Usually moderate to pretty vibrant. Zin needs good acidity to balance its ripe fruit and often higher alcohol levels. That acidity keeps it from feeling flabby or heavy.
Higher alcohol is common, right?
Often, yes. Especially in those richer, warmer climate red Zinfandels. It contributes to that full-bodied sensation.
You mentioned aging, bringing out earthy, leathery notes. Can you recap that evolution a bit? How does it change over time?
Sure. Young Zinfandel is all about that vibrant primary fruit, the fresh berries and spice. As it ages in the bottle, those fresh fruit notes mellow and transform into more dried fruit, stewed fruit, or figgy notes.
Okay.
The spice integrates more, becomes less sharp, and those secondary notes from oak, plus the tertiary notes from aging itself, leather, tobacco, earth, forest floor, start to emerge. And crucially, the tannins soften and resolve, making the wine feel smoother.
So terroir and winemaking choices really sculpt the final taste profile. Any quick tips for actually tasting Zin? Serving temperature, glasses?
Good question. For reds, don't serve them too warm. Slightly cool, maybe 60, 64 Fahrenheit or 16, 18 Celsius, really helps lift the aromas and keeps the alcohol in check.
Cooler than room temp.
Yeah. White Zin and rosés definitely chill them well, like a white wine, say 4650 Fahrenheit, 810 Celsius. Glass-wise, a medium to large bowl is great for red Zin, lets you swirl and get all those aromas. Standard white wine glass for the rosés?
Decanting, ever needed.
For younger, everyday Zins, probably not. But for older, more serious, structured red Zinfandels, especially those with some sediment, decanting for maybe 30 minutes to an hour can definitely help. It softens the tannins and lets the aromas open up beautifully.
Great tips. Okay, we've got the wine in the glass. Now let's put food on the table. You said Zin is versatile with food.
Incredibly versatile. That combination of fruit, spice, acidity, and structure means it can handle a lot of different flavors.
So give us some classic pairings. What does Zinfandel love?
Oh, barbecue's a natural. Think grilled or smoked pork ribs, pulled pork, even a good burger off the grill. Anything with a tangy or slightly sweet barbecue sauce often works brilliantly.
BBQ Zin. Got it.
It's also great with roasted meats, maybe some game like venison or wild boar if the Zin is robust enough. Spiced American dishes like chili are fantastic pairings.
Okay.
And Italian food. Dishes with rich tomato and meat sauces, ragu, bolognese, lasagna, Zinfandel complements those beautifully. Even some Mexican dishes like chili con carne, richer tacos, or burritos could work really well.
What about cheese?
Good question. Hard-aged cheeses are great. Think aged cheddar, Parmesan. And interestingly, it can sometimes work as a contrast, pairing with pungent blue cheeses like Gorgonzola or Roquefort. The fruitiness cuts through the richness.
That's a wide net. Any specific thoughts on pairing with Californian or Italian food, given its history?
Sure. For California cuisine, yeah, classic Cali BBQ, those gourmet burgers with lots of toppings, even pizzas with bold flavors. Zinfandel feels right at home.
Makes sense.
For Italian, definitely lean into those hearty meat sauces, lasagna, as I mentioned, maybe even pizza with sausage or pepperoni. It matches that intensity. And beyond that, think Tex-Mex, Indian curries with some richness. Zin can handle spice quite well.
So it sounds like there's a Zin for almost any occasion. Casual Tuesday pizza to a fancier weekend roast.
Pretty much. White Zinfandel can be a simple aperitif or go with, say, fruit salad. A young, fruity red Zin is perfect for that Tuesday pizza or pasta night. And a big, complex, old vine Zinfandel, that's your go-to for the Sunday roast or that special steak dinner.
Fantastic picture. Let's zoom out a bit now. What's Zinfandel's place in the overall wine market today? It's still a big deal in the U.S., right? Especially California.
Absolutely. It's hugely important. Still one of the most widely planted red grapes in California. It's got this interesting position, though. You've still got massive popularity for white Zinfandel alongside this growing appreciation for the serious, high-quality red Zinfandels.
A split personality, almost.
A little bit, yeah. But the red side is definitely gaining more and more respect.
And there are some legendary producers associated with Zin. Can you name drop a few and what makes them stand out?
Definitely. You have producers like Ridge Vineyards. They're famous for their incredible old vine Zins, often field blends, minimal intervention, really focused on letting the vineyard speak. Amazing aging potential.
Ridge. Iconic.
Turley Wine Cellars is another huge name, also focused almost exclusively on old vine Zin from historic sites across California. Their wines are often very intense, really expressive, highly allocated.
Hard to get.
Can be, yeah. Then there's Ravenswood, famous for their no wimpy wines motto back in the day. They make bold, flavorful Zins from various places. Dry Creek Vineyard is a classic Sonoma producer known for elegance and complexity in their Dry Creek Valley Zins.
Right.
And Sagazio Family Vineyards, another Sonoma stalwart with a long history and real expertise with old vines, making robust, age-worthy wines. There are many others, of course, but those are some key names.
It sounds like a real dedication to quality there. What are the big trends or maybe challenges facing Zinfandel right now?
Well, the positive trend is definitely that growing consumer interest in the high-end red Zins. People are seeking out single vineyard bottlings, understanding the old vine story more. That's great.
Good news.
The ongoing challenge, though, is still kind of overcoming that white Zinfandel perception for some consumers. Convincing people that Zinfandel can also be this incredibly complex, serious red wine.
Shaking off that image.
Exactly. And making sure people understand the diversity within red Zinfandel itself.
And wine tourism seems important for Zin. Visiting places like Lodi or Dry Creek.
Hugely important. Enotourism in Zinfandel heartlands like Lodi, Dry Creek Valley, Paso Robles, it's vital. It connects people directly with the vineyards, the history, the winemakers.
So what's that connection?
Yeah, it lets you taste the wines in context, understand the place they come from. It really helps build appreciation and loyalty.
This has been fantastic, a really deep dive into Zinfandel. To wrap things up, what are the absolute key things you want the learner to take away from our chat?
Okay, key takeaways. First, Zinfandel's amazing, slightly mysterious journey from Croatia to California. Second, its incredible adaptability to different terroirs, leading to that huge range of styles you find.
Versatility.
Definitely. Third, its truly iconic status, especially in California wine history, but also its ongoing evolution. It's a grape that respects tradition, but isn't afraid to innovate.
A living history.
Exactly.
Okay, so a final thought for you, the learner, as you continue exploring wine. Maybe make it a mission to really taste that diversity we've talked about.
Good idea.
Try a Zinfandel from Lodi, next to one from Dry Creek Valley or Paso Robles. See if you can spot those regional differences. And then maybe take it a step further, find an Italian Primitivo, maybe even track down a Croatian Crljenak Kaštelanski if you can.
That would be a fascinating tasting.
Right. Comparing them side by side is probably the best way to truly get your head around the full spectrum of this amazing grape, its journey, and all those nuances we've unpacked today. Something to explore. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.